Hi everyone, welcome back to Wool and Gardens. So today we are standing in my condo instead of the community garden. I'm going to be doing this video centered around wool since that's another topic that I'm very passionate about and that I want to share with you guys. We're basically going to be dyeing today. So dyeing some wool that I've spun. I started spinning wool in December, so about 4 months ago. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and another part of it is being able to get all different colors, which I'm just starting to explore. So on the table here I have some stuff that we're gonna score and mordant today, which is just a preparation process to be able to dye. So it's basically just washing it and putting the aluminum right here, aluminum potassium sulfate, to make sure that the color adheres to the wool. All of my dyeing products come from botanical colors, so I didn't gather the plant material from my garden or from the land. I would really love to be able to get to that point, but for consistency and just experimenting with colors, I've decided to just use plant powder for now. Here on the table we have this guy was dyed with Cabracho. It's supposed to be a light pink color, so it didn't quite get there. This was the first dye that I ever did, so I'm guessing it's probably user error. This one was dyed with Lockwood. It's a very, very pretty purple. And if you add iron to it, it becomes this really gorgeous red. These two, so this one was dyed with Weld, which is a really bright yellow. And if you add iron to it, it becomes this really pretty green color. One thing to point out with dyeing, especially with natural colors, is you have to make sure that everything is pretty loose. You don't want the wool to be tight in the pot. This one I think was a little too tight, so just to show you little mistakes that can be done. You can see here there's some blotches that are much darker than the rest. I kind of like the effect. I'm excited to knit with it and to see how it knits up. But yeah, if you want a very consistent color, we have to make sure that everything's very loose. These guys we're going to be scoring and mordanting today. These are all alpaca and merino wool blends. And then this guy is just a mixed wool. And then these ones are also just mixed wool, and these have already been scored and mordanted. So we're going to be dyeing these ones today. Very exciting. This is one of the first wool that I've created. So you can see it's a lot of thick and thin. It's also really fun to be able to see the progress. So these ones are a lot more consistent. So just in a few months you can get from this to this with just a little bit of practice. Really cool. All right, well, and then there's a lot of downtime when it comes to this process. So I'm also going to be doing a little bit of gardening, repotting my houseplants and stuff like that. So it'll be a little bit of everything today. But let's get started. All right, so I have my little setup here. I have two different scales. So I have this one here that is for bigger volumes, and then I have this little one here that's for very small volumes, because if you're doing just a small amount of wool, it needs very, very little dye stuff, so it needs that kind of scale. Both scales were from Amazon and they were great. The little one is this one here. It's called Smart Weight. Smart Weight if you have needs for very tiny measurements. Awesome. This one is just Galaxy equipment. This one actually was from the Woolry, not from Amazon, but works great. All right. One little thing I didn't mention, I added these little zip ties to my wool bundles. It's very inexpensive, just extra little step that will save you time at the end, because your wool won't get as tangled. Although I've done it a lot of time without the zip tie, and it's not like detrimental, sorry, but it definitely the zip tie definitely helps a little bit, and like I said, very inexpensive to save you some time. The first step is always going to be measuring. So you want to measure everything, so that way, because every step of the process requires different levels of, Orvis paste for the scouring, then the aluminum potassium sulfate for the mordanting. So everything needs measurement, so you just really have to be on top of that. And then if you want to recreate the color that you've had you can, which is great. Every little bundle, so I'm not going to do it right now because I've already actually done it and I've already noted it, but every little bundle I've weighed and have their, in each separate amount that they weigh. And the total of them is 535 grams. So for the scouring, we're going to be using the Harvest Paste that's right here. Harvest Paste is just a very, very gentle wash. It's actually used for cleaning horses, livestock, pets, quilts, and other things that's listed on there. But it's also really, really great for washing the wool because it does come from a livestock. It comes from a sheep, and it'll prevent it from felting, which a lot of other wool, a lot of other soap will felt your wool. All right, so for the Harvest Paste, I'm going to put this aside for right now. I'm just going to put it right here. For the Harvest Paste for 500 gram, it doesn't take a lot. It takes, this is half a teaspoon, so it takes half a teaspoon for 500 grams. I have just over 500 grams, so I'm just going to do like a heaping teaspoon basically. So yeah, just like that, and just a little bit more, but not much. And then what you'll want to do is just, I'm going to actually put it directly in this big pot that I have here. And then add water to it. Alright, so I have filled my pot with water with the Harvest Paste. It's really important to use cold water because you don't want to shock your fibers, so we want to heat everything very slowly. And then just push your fiber in there. You want them to be submerged. You want them to really, you want there to be enough water so that they can move around slowly. So as they get wet, as they fill with water, they will sink down. More. And when, after it starts, well, even now, you don't want to agitate the water too much. That's why we fill the pot before and not after. So you don't want, you want the least possible agitation so that, again, you don't felt your fiber because they do become more fragile as when they're wet, when they're heated. So I'm just gonna make sure that they're kind of all soaked in with the water before turning the heat on. And then after that, once the heat is turned on, like I said, we'll slowly heat it up to 180 degrees over 30 minutes. And then we'll go with tongs and we'll just flip the fibers around so that the one that's on top, because clearly the one that's on top is not as submerged as the other ones. So after like every 10 minutes we're going to go and we're going to flip it so it's not all the same fiber that's at the top and not being as washed as the other ones. But for now that'll do. Then I'll just put the top on and then I'll put the heat at about 4 to start with. I have my little thermometer here, and every 10 minutes or so I'll be checking, making sure that it's heating up at the correct time. Okay, so now that we've got the fiber that we're gonna scour up and going, we're gonna start the process of dyeing the one that was already scoured in Mordanting. So right now I've just put it in water because, like I said, every process needs to have wet fiber other than the scouring process. So we're just re-wetting this fiber. And then I'm going to weigh the dye material that I'm going to be using. So today I'm going to do a mix of cabriccio and logwood. So it's basically like a pink with a purple. So it's probably going to be ending up in like the brown area. Hopefully it'll be a pretty brown. If it's not, I'll probably add iron and then cross my fingers. But I think it's always pretty regardless of how it turns out. So yeah, I'm excited to see. So for the logwood, I've already made the calculations. So I just need, so I'm going to be using this tiny one because I just need 26.26 grams. So very, very small amounts. So let's see if I can get there. A little bit more. So it won't drop. Come on. There we go. Ah. Aha, 0.264. Perfect. That was good. And then I'm going to leave that aside for now, and then I'm going to switch to this one. And I'm going to do the cabriccio. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's along those lines. Yep, all right. And this one I need 8 grams of. I don't want to mix the two, so I'm not going to reuse this. I'm going to use a different spoon. I'm not going to use the spoon because a slight safety asterisk is that you don't want to use things that you use in the kitchen for the dyeing. So everything that I'm using here, I don't use for cooking. So this is my regular spoon drawer, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go get another spoon that I've used for dyeing in the past. Alright, so I've got my spoon. And then I'm just going to measure out 8 grams. So we're at 6, 7. It's like going between 7 and 8, so I think it just needs a tiny bit more. There you go. Oh, no. It's still going between 7 and 8. So that's, there you go. Now we're at 8. All right. And then I have some hot water in this. So you just want to use this is 60 mils, so you just want to use a little bit. So that way you're not putting hot water in your pot with your fibers. You want to heat it slowly again. So then I'm going to mix the 2 dyes together here. It's always going to get stuck. Oh, and that's my cue to mix our other pots. So let's go over here for a second. Let's use these tongs here. So again, using tongs that you don't use for cooking. So very easy. We're just gonna check that. I'm always gonna press here a little bit. Gonna check where the temperature's at. Right, it's at 85 right now, so it's still very low. So I might increase the water temperature a little bit, and then you just wanna again get the wool that was at the top and get it at the bottom. There we go. You want to be gentle, don't want to agitate the water, and that's it. Put this aside, put this back on, and let it do its thing. Right, going back over here, I'm just going to again pour this hot water in here so that we can stir it. Have my little whisk here. We don't need to be on the scale. Let's get off the scale. And then this is just mix it in. Make sure there's no clump, because if you have clumps of powder that lands on your fiber, you'll have a spot of really dark color there. So you really want to make sure that it's mixed in properly. So, you know, however long it takes you, I might need to add more water, more hot water to dilute it properly. But that's perfectly fine. It's better that the dye is diluted properly. So we're finished mixing in the color. I've put, and at this part for the dyeing, you want to be a little bit more precise with your water. You don't want to just willy-nilly fill the pot. So I've put about 6 cups of water in here, and the amount of water will differ based on how much wool you have. Here I have about just over 100 grams. And here I'm going to add the dye stuff that I've just mixed. Again, double checking. You see there's nothing in the bottom. There's no chunks that were left unmixed. Everything looks smooth, so that's perfect. And then we're going to be adding the wool, and you want it, like I said before, to be wet. So I'm not going to get the water out of here. I'm just going to take it from here and bloop, plop it in here. And then you can see right away when I put it in, I don't really want to put my fingers in there. So I'm going to grab these tongs here, and right away you can see there's some color going in. And again, you want to make sure that, you know, the wool is loose. It's not overly tight. It does have room to move around. Perfect. All right, and then we'll get this on the stove. And just like the other one, we're going to heat it up slowly. This one, we're going to heat it up to 190 and hold it there for an hour. and again rotating it every 10 minutes or so to make sure that the top, like you can see, the top is floating, it's not in the color as much. So this step is extra important to rotate the fibers so that the top doesn't stay white. All right, let's get going. All right, so we've got the dyeing going, we've got the scouring going, and like I said, we're gonna do a little gardening project. So I have this very beautiful window here. I feel so lucky to have it. My cats absolutely love it. So I know you guys have met our 2 dogs. We also have 2 cats. They're really cute. They're Manxes, so they don't have any tails. But that's where their watering is. They love to hang out in this window, but it's become a little bit of a catch-all. It's become very messy. So I want to clean it up. You can probably also notice the plants that are in there are struggling a little bit. I have 2 spider plants. I have a Christmas cactus. I have a money tree. The money tree is okay. It's yellowing mostly because I left it in its nursery pot for too long. I actually it stayed in its nursery pot for almost a year. It's just one of those projects that I know, I'm sure you guys have some of those where it's like, oh, I have to do that, I have to do that, and then a year goes by and it's still there. My rosemary is not doing well. This guy, we actually moved from the East Coast, and this guy, I moved from the East Coast with me. I'm not quite sure what happened, honestly. It was all green until probably like a week ago. So I'm not entirely sure why it died out on me, but there is still some light green on it. If I pull at it, it still is solidly anchored, so there's still some roots attaching it over there. So I have a little grow light in my other area, so what I might do, I might put it under a grow light and keep a better eye on it and see if it starts growing again, and hopefully it will. I've cleared all the plants from there. I've cleared all the area. They're right here on my counter for right now. There's some that have died, like this one. Don't know if you guys can see it. This one is very, very dead. My rosemary is almost dead, but hopefully we can save the rosemary. So this one, I'll just put that here. I'll put this one aside for now. I have my Christmas cactus here. This one is doing pretty well. Has where the part is like redder, that's new growth. It finished flowering, so there's still some dead flowers that we can prick out of it. There we go. And this guy, there's 3 different plants in here, and I grew them from clippings. The main clipping came from David's aunt. She had a very beautiful plant, and when I visited her, she gave me a little clipping from it. So that's where this came from. This plant here, this is a type of Hoya, basically, is the name of the plant. It has really beautiful flower, and it flowers all the time. This I got from a clipping from a friend as well, and it's grown a lot. It's not doing the best, put this aside for now. It's not doing the best because if you can see, the bottom of this pot is all rusted. It's a metal pot that I drilled holes in it for drainage, and it's just at the end of its life. I think it's been in there for about 5 years now, so it just needs to be repotted. And I think that will make the plant a lot happier. Like you see, there's a lot of yellowing in the leaves, but it still flowers. It just finished flowering. It still flowers very prolifically, so it's a really, really fun plant to have. So let me just repot this one real quick. Spider plant here. Let me see, let's wait, there we go. So as you can see, there's a lot, this spider plant basically gets too much sunlight in the window where it's at. It's been there for 2 years, and It doesn't die, it just doesn't look good, so I don't think I'm gonna put the spider plants back there. I think I'm gonna find another spot for them in the condo. But I'll clean them up, I'll cut the babies off, and hopefully they'll find a spot for them where they can thrive. Actually, maybe it'll be able to show you a little bit more. So this one also had little babies and they're much bigger, but yeah, if you were to put that either in water or in potting soil, then it would make a whole new plant. And then I also have this little succulent that is covered in cat hair, so just warning about this one. It has kind of sticky, hairy leaves, and it will definitely attract a lot of cat hair, so if you have animals, it might not be the best thing. Right here, this is a money plant. Again, this has a lot of yellow on its leaf because I left it in its nursery can for way too long, but I repotted it, so. The other thing that we had up there is this chicken casserole pot that I got at a secondhand store. I thought it was really pretty. We've never actually used it as a casserole pot. We have it in the window mostly just because we keep, let me see if I can show you guys. We keep our Aero garden supplies in there, so that's why it's there, so it's easy to grab, but I think I'm just gonna have a different system for that and put this somewhere else so it's just not boiling the window, and maybe we can even use it as an actual casserole pot sometime. Alright, so now this is another Hoya plant like my other one that's really lengthy. This one I got more recently. I got when we first moved 2 years ago. I'm trying to get the camera to focus on it, but maybe I'm too close to it. Maybe it'll be brighter here. But basically it hasn't really grown much since I've gotten it. I have it in my bathroom, in one of the bathrooms, and I don't think it's very happy there. So I'm going to put it in the window since the other one is much happier, and hopefully it'll be happier too. Oh my gosh, guys, I decided to repot this spider plant. Look at this root ball. It definitely needed some repotting. Alright guys, so another one done. Oop. Water on the floor and all repotted. Left me some room for more plants, so I got really excited today and went to the garden center and got more succulent to make the window a little bit more beautiful. So behind me is where it's gonna go. I set up the basket the way I want to right here. So they're gonna go in there, and all the succulents I got are right here. So I'm very excited to get started. And here is Darla, our little cat, being a little curious about the plants. Hi, Princess. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna record while I'm putting it together so you guys can watch, and at the end I'll just go through plant by plant to show you what went into the project. Here it is. I hope that you enjoyed me putting that together. It was a lot of fun. Took a little bit of moving things around for me to be completely happy with it, but I really love the way it looks right now. And the plants have plenty of room to grow into their space. So in case you guys are curious, I'm just gonna show you one by one what the name of each. So this one is Calencio tomentosa, also known as chocolate soldier. I can show you the tag here. It's absolutely gorgeous color, and absolutely love the texture of the foliage. Absolutely gorgeous plant. Then this one right below it is Portulacaria afra mediopica picta. Sorry if I'm butchering the name of these plants, but here's the tag if you want to read it for yourself. Again, very beautiful plant. Love the red color accents. Then this one here is called Semper Pervivum Arachnoideum. And this one is really interesting because if it'll focus on it, you can see it has kind of like a spider web at the tip of it, which makes it for very interesting texture. Now this little guy is called, this one's hard, it's called Split Rock or Pilos Nelly. Again, here is the name of it if you guys want to read it for yourself, because I know I'm not saying those right. And then this one this color is called Royal Flush. There's not a color specification for this one. And these little guys I thought were so cool. They almost look like little lungs with the design on them. This one here, I don't know if I can show you guys a little bit better. There's this one and there's this one. This one you see the little lung pattern even more. These guys are called stone faces or litops. And again, here is the tag. Don't know if I'll focus on it. There we go. Very pretty. And then we have these guys that are baby toes. Finistraria aurantiaca is the name of this one. And here is the box or the pot. This one here with a beautiful red accent is called Echeveria nodulosa. Right here. And then this one here is Aloinopsis chunesi. Right here. I know it's really small and really hard to see. I just know that I'm butchering the name of the plants, so if you guys want to find them, I want you to be able to track them down. Then the ones at the top, this one is Sedum rubrotinctum aurora. This one is sideways. There it is. And then this one here is Crassula perforata, string of buttons. And I absolutely love the shape of the leaves. They do really look like little strings of buttons, just growing tall. And the last one, not the last one, but the last one I have the last one that I have a tag for is Senecio mendreliaceae, or blue chalk sticks. Here it is. Again, very interesting plant. Love how much height it adds. This one here, I know this one is very common. I see them everywhere. It didn't actually have a tag, so I don't know what variety or what it's actually called, but very pretty. Adds like a bright pop there. So I watered it, so I'm just gonna let it dry this way because I'm gonna put it sideways up in the window. So I'll let it dry and then I'll take a shot of what it looks like up on the window just to show you guys. Alright, so I was able to put the basket where I wanted it. Here's my little sink area update. I think it looks so beautiful. Really, really happy. Here it is if I get it closer to you guys. You guys can see all the plants. Just gorgeous. I hope you enjoyed watching this little project. It was sure really, really fun to put it together. And I hope it provides some inspiration. If you guys were wondering what to do in a really sunny window, I think those succulents will be really happy there, and I'm super excited to watch them grow and show you guys their progress along the way. So it's been an hour or so. We heated it up slowly, then we kept it at temperature for the scoring pot and the dyeing pot. So now with the scoring, we're off to the mordanting. So what I'm gonna do, because with the mordanting is very similar, is just you add the mordant to the water. And I could let it cool down and then reheat it up, but that's a lot of wasted time. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this big pot, I'm gonna put some water in it with the wool that's in there. And then, because again, I don't want to add the mordant in the water because then there's going to be chunks that's going to go in the wool and it's going to affect my wool. And I don't want that. So I need the pot to be empty to add the mordant. So that's why I'm taking out. But at the same time, I don't want to take my wool out because right now it's really hot water, and if I take it out, it might shock and damage the fiber again. So I will scoop up some of the hot water with the wool, keep it in its similar temperature. It'll definitely cool down a little bit, but that's okay. And then I'll add the mordant, mix it in, and then I'll put everything back in. All right. One here, so I don't know if you remember, but at the beginning we had two different little skeins of wool that went into this one. So what I've done is that I've taken one out, and then I took the same thing I did with the mordant, took the fiber out with some water not to shock it, and then I added iron. And now again we're going to be cooking it for another 30 minutes to let that iron sink in, and we'll just at the end we'll see how the iron changed the color. What I've done off camera is with the pot that had iron, and I forgot to mention before, I actually put 2% the weight of fiber of iron in the little skein that was left. So in the dyeing world we use a lot of weight of fiber to calculate things. So same with, I'm not sure that I mentioned it, but for the mordant what I used was 14% the weight of fiber of mordant from the weight that was in here. So it was about 75 grams total. So what I've done is I've taken basically the dye pot and I've emptied it in this bowl here. And then what I'm going to do, because this is really hot water, that was very hot to touch, I'm going to kind of heat, well I won't do it because it's going to be loud, but what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to get the water to be hot, just slightly colder than what the water in here is, and then I'm going to slowly cool down the temperature so that I don't shock the yarn. Pull down the water, and what is left to do at this stage, if you want to zoom in a little bit on the pot, is basically you want to get the excess dye out of the fiber. So you just want to kind of go like this, in and out, and then when the color in the water, like right now there's a lot of dye in there, you want to empty it out and then refill the pot, and then you do that over and over until the water in here is pretty much clear. So I've done it enough so that the water was clear. So if you look at the bowl here, one way to know if you've gotten all the dye out is when you squeeze, you see the water coming out is clear. So all the dye that is on the fiber is going to stay on the fiber. It's not going to leak out. And that's really important, because if you're going to knit with this and have different colors together, a lighter color than this, and then you go and wet block it, if you didn't remove all the dye, then you might have some leakage in your colors, and that would be really shameful because you spent all that time knitting, so you definitely don't want your colors to leak. So this is the one with iron. The one without iron, I did this process a little bit earlier and I put it to dry out in the bathroom, so I'm gonna go get it, and we can put them side by side just to see how the iron affected the color. Alright guys, so we have them side by side. So as you see, the one with iron is darker, slightly darker, and that's what iron does. It's also said as satin colors, but I don't particularly like that term because I don't think that dark colors are necessarily sad. But that's typical of the effect of iron. For some colors, like I've showed you at the beginning, it can have some drastic effect, like turning yellow to green, but for others, like the Quebracho, it just slightly darkened it. So we'll leave this here for now. I want to go back to my pot here that is still ongoing. That's the Mordanting pot. So I feel like I went over the Mordanting process very quickly. So I just want to recap a little bit. So basically we scored it. We got the water up to temperature really slowly, so not to shock the yarn. And then once that was done, I took the yarn out. I added the mordant. And that was 14% the weight of fiber. I mixed it in, make sure there's no chunks in there. I re-added the yarn. And the important part here is that you want to have your water at 190 degrees, and you want it to hold at that temperature for an hour for the mordant to really take on your yarn. And I don't know that I said that before, so it's really important. The scouring, you hold a temperature at 180 for 30 minutes. The mordanting, you hold it for an hour at 190 degrees. And that's pretty much it. It's a very simple process. It's just temperature control and a little bit of math, a little bit of calculating. Hi everyone. So today is a different day, but I went ahead and I dyed the yarn that we scored and mordanted together, and I really wanted to show you the color because I'm really excited and happy about it. And then I dyed, I added iron to the other skeins, so we dyed 2 skeins together, and I added iron to only one of them. And then I went ahead and added iron to the second one because I love the color that it made so much more. And then let me show you guys what happened. Alright, so here is the one that we scored and mordanted together. Isn't that so beautiful, that color? So beautiful. I'm really happy about it. I dyed it with madder and then added 2% iron, and just love that shade of red, burgundy red. And then this is the one all dried up that we dyed together. That was the capriccio and a little bit of logwood and then 2% iron. And I love the two together. Isn't that just so beautiful, that combination? So that's a project I wanted to do, but I didn't think that this yarn, that I had quite enough for what I wanted to do. So that's why I went ahead and added iron to this skein, because we did the capriccio and the logwood with this skein as well. And then I added 2% iron, but as you can see, this, sorry guys, this is so much darker. I mean, this is like a very deep gray compared to that one. And I think what happened is that I added 2% iron to this skein here, but there's so much more water in it because when we did the capriccio and logwood, both of these skeins were in there. And I removed the bigger skein, and I did the iron, but didn't remove any water. And when I did the 2% iron with this one, I just did the amount of water that would be required for the weight of this skein. So I think that's why it went so much darker. So now I'm gonna have the fun job of trying to recreate this color, not knowing exactly I know pretty much all the details, so I might be able to do it, but with dyeing, sometimes it's a little bit like science experiment, so it doesn't always work the way we want to. I just wanted to show that to you guys, the progress and how beautiful the colors turned out. And thank you guys. Thanks again for watching.